welcome back to the EY flagship series of Transformation Realized. I'm delighted to have Richa Singh. Richa is the CFO of Pernod Ricard, a flagship and a premier liquor company in India. Welcome, Richa. Just by means of introduction, Richa, by qualification, is a management graduate, a qualified lawyer, and she, by virtue of her experience, she has 2 decades of experience in multiple multinational companies holding multiple leadership positions across the finance function. By virtue of her being a qualified resource and her vast experience of over 2 decades, she brings across a blend of operational excellence, good corporate governance, as well as business partnering that we have. It's delighted to have Richa on board. Welcome, Richa, and look
Thanks a
forward
lot,
to the
Gaurav.
conversation. First things first, Richa. Being a CFO today is a tough job. Now, how do you manage to do multiple priorities between managing long-term growth versus a short-term profit that organizations look at? It's a tough job. So, what would be your approach, and how do you approach this particular aspect?
So both are must do. I mean, there's no compromise either on short term or on long term. A long term drives your sustainability, as well as shareholders do expect that the company continues to do well. Short term results are, in a way, a vote of confidence that the company is on the right track. So, of course, to support our short term delivery goals, we've got various processes in place, rolling forecast, then working with the teams, bottoms up working or estimations. Along with that, finance leads or co-partners with a lot of functions, including commercial and manufacturing, to make sure profitability is balanced through ROCE, ROI, looking at both our customers and suppliers. So mix of forecasting, enabling our functions to make sure they're delivering value in the short term, and then making sure that every quarter or at least twice a year, we are very, very focused on reviewing what investments in the coming year or coming years will keep us on a growth trajectory.
So, given these priorities that you say, and what we would like to understand is, Richa, what triggered the entire concept of your transformation engagement that you did of centralizing the finance operations that you have? Any thoughts on this?
So I would say we were a little late in taking up this journey, but when we started, it was really a welcome change. The key trigger was, like you asked me, how do you balance? Of course, there's a need to balance. I needed a lot of support from my finance teams to balance it. But my finance teams were scattered over around 40 locations. And they were doing a lot of things which they shouldn't be doing, which today technology and automation and processes can take care of. So just to take an example and explain what was it that they were doing. Somebody sitting in the plant, a finance person sitting in the plant, or a finance person sitting in the sales office. They were, at times even processing vouchers, doing accounting entries, getting involved in a lot of month-end closing. So even though I had a very, very strong team, on roll of around 130 employees, off roll also 130, so around 260 people working on finance, I didn't really have people working with me on business partnering, driving the business in the right direction. So that was the biggest trigger. Along with that, also, I felt finance wasn't empowered. There was very little segregation of duty or independence of controls. That was also one of the triggers. Thirdly, offshoot of lack of standardization and automation. Everyone did what they felt was the right thing to do. And it's very difficult to drive standardization across scattered teams. So it was all of this. And that's what we said, okay, now let's bring the team together. Let's have specialized functions and let's carve out a team that's going to be really focused on steering the business.
Good trigger point, but at the very outset, you said managing this change, right? Any centralization that you do, local versus centralized, there is a lot of resistance that happens. So how did you manage this entire change, both within the function as well as with your peers and your business leaders?
So I'm glad you said within the function. Okay, so of course there was resistance outside the function where it might not get support from finance anymore and so on, which was relatively easy because as leadership teams, we all have a very high level of maturity and we understand what's important for the business. So there was trust among cross-functional leaders that, okay, even though finance might get centralized, they'll continue to get support from finance, or maybe they'll have more support from finance. Now, within finance, this was certainly a period of uncertainty. And when we started talking about COE, so it was a lot of communication, reassurance, Along with that, a lot of positive engagements driven through, connects, convivial evenings, setting up trainings, and constant discussions. So one by one, we made it happen. I remember getting the first 3 or 4 employees to join COE team was very difficult. But within a matter of, I would say, 4 to 5 months, that momentum built. And today, people look forward to being in the COE. COE in Pernod Ricard is a very happening place. People talk about, okay, my future assignment can be there. So again, making sure that we continue to have joint work plan or goal settings between finance and commercial, finance and ops, and making sure we were engaging with them throughout the year, getting their inputs on how COE was doing, getting their inputs on how finance was doing, really made it a success.
Glad you brought this point about people as well, right?
Mm.
Because and having worked with you in close quarters, we do see your passion towards people agenda, driving people agenda. So, any 2 or 3 approaches that you believe that you did for people to feel comfortable that yes, CEO is the place to be in.
Firstly, and every leader will recognize this, a leader cannot do anything without having people with her or him. So that's my philosophy. And secondly, I strongly believe when you make people accountable and empowered, right? Empowered definitely, and let them believe this is their project. And actually look at them that, yes, this is your project, now make it happen. That is the biggest enabler. So it was a lot of empowerment. Along with that, a lot of enablement by having one on ones, by having open forums, a mix of both informal and formal connects to really understand what was working for a person and not working, and then picking and choosing the right people who would really be able to deliver here, play to people's strengths. I do believe a lot in stretching people, but also their core should be there in that particular job. They should be at least a 60-70% fit to be able to then stretch and deliver. So that's what made it happen. And along the way, we all humans, happiness does drive a lot of positive energy. So yes, we worked a lot on that.
Absolutely great. It was a great journey,
Mm.
Richa, that we all went together. It was for a period of 1 year now. It's
Mm.
been 2 years that the COE is established.
Mm.
How do you see to what it was in when we went live onto it to
Mm.
what it is delivering now? How do you see the change that is being driven before the bigger organization, if I have to ask you that?
Okay, so let me also talk a little bit of numbers over here and give the perspective. So I think when we started this journey, we were probably 125 or 126 people in finance on the rolls, permanent employees. Today we are 130. So it's not been a significant increase. We've been able to reorganize ourselves and deliver much more superior results. So our costs have not gone up. So that's been a very big wow for the company that we created something so beautiful without incremental costs. We have thousands of crores of billings. So even a little bit, even a small delay in collection leads to a huge working capital blockage.
Yes.
Then the way we used to pay excise payments, paying before time or sometime delay, both had costs. Those costs have gone away. C form efficiencies, not collecting on time, leading to penalties. So we have been able to avoid a lot of penalties, fines, improve our working capital because of now a focused team. Now that's on the COE side. Um, Partnering with commercial function and with manufacturing teams, we've been able to deliver a very strong P&L over the last 2-3 years of very high inflation and very high competition. So now the finance team, which is now working with the business teams, is focused on A&D efficiencies. We've kept internal targets, right? That let's make sure we drive more productivity, and it's happening. Let's ensure we continue to improve our gross margins. Of course, manufacturing leads that effort, but finance is there, supporting the ROI calculations, negotiating with them, driving that hygiene and questioning. And finding, also we've done a lot on getting a balance sheet leaner. So finding alternate ways of financing, leasing.
So if you reflect back, it's the journey has been phase wise with very specific targets to be oriented in year 2, year 1, year 2, and year 3.
Right.
So in your view, what's next for vision for COE in your view?
So I would urge my team to continue to improve processes, embrace automation. That's something that we are also internally working with tech. Bring in a little bit of maybe AI to improve our compliances. Today, we do a lot of manual checks. And of course, I want to see how my COE can gradually take on a little bit of forecasting, and predictive analysis. That's one, but I also have a bigger ambition of what India Finance can do for the group. And if we can also develop into a global center of excellence, supporting our businesses across the world. Because I do want to say India has awesome talent, and we've got partners like you who've really made this a breeze. So I do believe we can do it on a larger scale.
It's been a fascinating journey for you as well as for us being partnering with you on in this entire journey. What would be your guidance to your peer group who's embarking on this journey? As you are aware, as you said, that there are companies like you who's not advanced in this journey of centralization. So what would be your advice to your peer CFOs to who's just starting about this journey?
Okay. It's firstly very, very important to lay out, what is it that you want to achieve, have a very clear roadmap, and then start documenting the processes at locations where you know are working the best. I would say in the first phase, not create too much of change. Just focus on standardization, on centralization, bring people and processes together, and then get ambitious about driving change. Doing too much at one go, that, okay, I'll get into the best process from day one, may be a recipe for disaster. So slow and steady, a lot of focus on people and communication. It is really the key. Change management and having a very strong partner. And I'm not saying this because I'm sitting with you, but having a strong partner like E&Y really made a difference. It ensured that whatever we were doing, each process was really robust enough. While it was our process, if there was any gap, at least that would be fixed. Then it kept a very strong hygiene on timelines and accountability. Because there were two partners, there was in a way a maker checker in place. It wasn't leaving the finance team on their own to figure out their own deadlines. There was great accountability. And lastly, you do need an external partner, but that external partner should be able to step up as your own team. There has to be perfect harmony over there. Those are the things that really help. Thank you so much, Richa, for being part of the conversation. It was a pleasure having you here. To my audience, I hope you find this session useful. We'll continue to do podcasts, EY Transformation Realized series. Look forward to your continued engagement. Stay tuned in.